cracker, I guess, roundish rounder. And they ate it, and they were to eat it in preparation, all ready with their staves in their hands and for leaving, because they were going to end up having to rush out of the land of Egypt. The people are going to become desperate, the Egyptians will, and they will want you to leave as soon as possible. And so that's what happened. They did all that, and that night all their firstborn were saved, while the king of Egypt, his son, and all the other houses that had no blood on their door frames, all of their firstborn died. I am the firstborn. I would have died. Now, as I mentioned before, when we talk about this lamb, what would have happened if they had said, oh, that's a shame, to kill my perfect lamb. Let's get a little bit sick one, or the one that's blind. Or maybe, I don't want to kill a lamb, they're too expensive. I'll kill a pig, or something else. You think they would have been saved? No. It had to be God's way. So, that's exactly what happened. It happened exactly as God had said. They were rushed out of the land of Egypt. Yes, fine, go, all your people, leave, quickly. So they left. And God led them on the way. But then, what happened? Then the heart of the king of Egypt got hard again. He wasn't learning very quickly, was he? Well, sometimes I don't think I learn very quickly either. I make mistakes again and again. Yeah. And so he hardened his heart and he said, what have we done? We've lost the service of all these slaves. We've got to go and get them. And so he prepared all his chariots, those chariots during that time, they were the most advanced technology of the day for warfare. Oftentimes they would have like little knives on the wheels, and they were fearsome things, rushing at you with their people with their arrows and everything. These were one of the most feared nations, most powerful nations on the earth, and they were chasing the Israelites. Now God knew exactly what was going to happen. That's why he brought them into this place. They ended up by the Red Sea, and on the sides of them were mountains. In front of them was the ocean. And here came the army of Egypt behind them. Now they're stuck. They are in a tight place, and they are afraid. Then they started to complain. They said, Moses, what did you do? Weren't there enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out into this place to die? Didn't we tell you, just leave us alone, let us serve the king of Egypt? Well, short memories, right? What was their situation in Egypt? Well, besides the fact that they were slaves, that you might be able to handle. But their boys were being killed, thrown into the river. They'd forgotten that. And so they complained to Moses, and Moses said, what am I going to do? God, what now? And God said, I'm going to show you. All these people, don't worry about that. The king of Egypt and all of his soldiers and chariots and horsemen and all that, you'll never see them again. Because I'm going to do an amazing thing for you. So God, remember that pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night? He made it stand behind them. On their side, it was like fire, so that it lit up their whole encampment. On the other side, it was darkness. So the Egyptians saw nothing. And then, in the morning, he said, put out your staff over the water. And when he did, God parted the water. A huge wind came along. He parted the water, and then a huge wind came along and dried up the bottom of the sea, which he had divided. Now there's a wall of fire on each side of it. Have you ever seen the cartoons? They're a little bit dramatic, like a whale swimming on the one side. You can see through there. I don't know about that. But anyway, it was dramatic. A wall of fire on both sides, and the people of Israel walking across on dry land in the middle of the sea. Now, I've wondered sometimes, how do they make bridges, with those cement footings at the bottom there? Since it's water, how's that going to happen? Well, they have to pump it out. They have to pump the water out and then pour in the cement. God did this through wind to dry it up. So they were walking across on dry land. And then, as they were just about, or maybe they were already across, then God removed that barrier, the pillar, the fire and the darkness. He moved it away, and the king of Egypt went coming after them. And that's when God saved them. He made the river, the water, there they are, crossing. He made the water return to its place. They saw the water beginning. They saw that they were starting to get into trouble. They couldn't drive anymore. And they said, let's run. Turn around quickly. Retreat. Because their God is helping them. Too late. Too late. And it doesn't say actually that Pharaoh died himself, but all of the chariots and horsemen, all the armies of Egypt got drowned in the sea that day. And the people of Israel were on the other side and watching this and seeing the bodies float to the top and the horses float to the top. What a mighty victory God had done on that day. I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and rider he is thrown into the sea. They sank like a stone. God has done mighty things. A warrior is his name. And the people put their trust in God. Well, this wasn't the end of the story, okay? They had put their trust in God and in Moses, but they weren't finished with the journey. They were going to have more trouble. So they're walking along in a desert. Have you ever been in a desert before? Our tribal people in the Philippines, they didn't know what a desert was, and they couldn't imagine what a desert was. They didn't really have a name for a desert. When it rains, it pours. It's probably the way it is in Nigeria. Huh? Do you have a dry season as well? Yeah. Yeah. Is it very dry? Yeah. Yeah. Dead? The grass dies? No, not quite. Yeah. Okay. In some places in Africa, I know it does. Maybe more north. Anyway, but if you've seen it during the dry season, you can start to imagine it. There's no water unless you have a well or something. Maybe there's a larger river you live close by if you're fortunate. There's no water. So they're walking along and they come to this place called Mara. There's water. Yes, they're so happy. They've been walking for 3 days without water. Now, everyone knows how important water is for any It doesn't happen very often here in the Faroe Islands, where stuff starts to dry up and they have a problem with drinking water and that sort of thing. Sometimes a problem with the water for washing your car or something, but very rarely. In summer maybe. There, you don't survive without water. 3 days without water, and the people started to complain. What are we going to drink? They come to Mara, there's water. They taste it, and it's bitter. Mara means bitter in the Hebrew language. So they tried to taste it, they couldn't drink it. And so they said, what are we going to drink? And Moses says, God, what are they going to drink? You can imagine Moses being a leader. What am I going to do? I mean, how am I going to provide water? What do you think? Does it look like I have a reservoir behind me that I'm carrying? What am I going to do with 2 million people who need a drink? He asked God, and God said, do that stick, that piece of wood, throw it into the water. And he did, and it was drinkable. Now, I'd like to know the name of that stick. What wood was that? So, good. They're doing good. Filled up their jugs and everything and started walking along again. What do you think their next problem was? You're walking in the desert. There are no people around. There are no towns. There's no fields. You can't plant anything. What are you going to do? No food. Oh, that food that they brought out of Egypt, you remember? When they had left Egypt, they had these troughs full of dough, and they had to leave quickly, so they had it not needed yet. That's long used up, right? And so they're out of food. Moses, what were you thinking? Why did you bring us up out of Egypt? There was plenty of food there. All this meat in our pots, and they're thinking about, and their stomachs are starting to rumble. Oh, we had it so good back there. Oh, really? So good, huh? We had it so good. We had plenty of food back there. Why'd you bring us out into the desert to die? And Moses calls up to God, and God says, okay, you are going to see my provision. You're going to see my glory, because in the evening, you'll have plenty of meat. And in the morning, you will have plenty of food. And so, that's what happened in the evening. This is starting to get dark. A whole bunch of quail. Have you eaten quail before? Do you have it in Africa? No, okay. They don't fly very well. They fly kind of low. We had a few pet quail here in the Faroe Islands. They don't fly very well. They can run away pretty fast. They're naughty. But they don't fly very well. So God brought up some wind, and along with the wind came the quail. And there was a lot of quail. There was more than they could eat of quail. So they were just, since they're flying low, you just hit them and gather them. So they ate that night. And in the morning, they woke up to find this, well, there was dew outside. That's not so unusual. But when that dried up, there were these little flakes. I don't know if you have it in where you've been, but in the Philippines, they often hammer the young rice and make flakes out of it, and they eat it that way. Flaked rice. Kind of like that, but it tasted a bit like honey with anise in it. So it was good tasting. And they picked it up and they said, what's this? You know what the word for what's this is in English? Well, their word is manna. So they were picking up and saying, what's this? And that became the name of it. What's this? We have some words in English. The doohickeys, or whatchamacallits, we have a few words like that in English. That no-name stuff. And it tasted good. And he said, this is what God has provided for you. He's good. This is his provision for you for food. And these are the rules. I'm going to test you now. Are you going to trust me? These are the rules. Every day, for 6 days, in the morning, you take some and just take enough, just enough for that day for eating. Don't leave any, don't set any aside. Eat enough, bring enough for that day. And on the 7th day, there won't be any. So on the 6th day, you're actually supposed to take up twice as much, gather twice as much, so that on the 7th day you'll have something to eat. But on the other days, just enough to eat for that day. So, guess what the people did? Well, maybe tomorrow there won't be any. We better set some aside. And you know what happened? When they looked at that manna that they had set aside, it hadn't only rotted, but it had maggots in it. You've seen maggots before. I've never seen maggots develop quite that fast in one night. Sometimes it comes in the sheet that we hang up. Never that fast. In one night, it not only rotted, but had maggots in it. And God said, how long am I going to deal with these people? And then on the 7th day, what they call the Sabbath, Saturday, some of them went out looking for manna. What was the problem with that? Well, they did it on all the other days. God had said, don't go out there on the 7th day because there won't be any. That's why on the 6th day you're supposed to take in twice as much. But some went out there looking anyway. Oh, these people. I can imagine how frustrated God must be with me sometimes. Here's some of the... We could just imagine what it looked like. We don't have any of these days. They're gathering the manna. And every day, for the next 40 years, they had manna. 40 years. We're going to come back to that a bit later. Well, they continue on their trek through the desert. No people, no water, no food, no anything except this manna that they're bringing. Well, you can only bring so much water with you, right? God is providing the manna every day, so you don't have to carry that much with you. But with water, there's only so much that you can carry for so long. So they ran out. Let me see if I can find this here. I had it before. We are in the book of Exodus. Yeah. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim. That was a place that God had provided water for them. Elim, the name of a church also here in the Faroe Islands. And came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. Oh, the good old days. But you have brought us up into the desert to starve us and the whole assembly to death. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day they are to prepare what they bring in. And that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days. But you know the story. They didn't follow those instructions. Right? Do you trust me? Do you trust me? Remember, I am the God who brought Pharaoh to his knees. I am the one who drowned him into the sea. Do you trust me? He asked the question, the same question of us. In the morning you will know that it is the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the evening. And in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we that you should grumble against us? Now, that makes sense. Moses, give us food. Give us food. Me and what supply chain? What food chain? What grocery store am I carrying with me? Moses looks at the people and says, what do you think I am? What do you think? Am I going to do this for you? I can't do anything. Talk to God about it. But no, they had to talk. They saw him. People are so normal that way. It's such a natural thing that people look to other people. I was hearing again recently from some of our guests. I just kept quiet about it, but they were grumbling about our U.S. president. A lot of people in the world are grumbling about the U.S. president. He's causing all these kinds of problems. He's causing all these kinds of... if we could just replace him with something better, something that we agree with, something that will do what we want him to do. The problem is, it's not people that we should be trusting. It's not people. People, I've seen it a few times post. People look to government to solve the problems, not realizing that it's the governments that are causing the problems to begin with. So you replace one government and you get another government that maybe is even worse, or you don't agree with either. Probably if I have no plans to do so, probably if I was sitting in a situation of responsibility, you wouldn't agree with me on everything either. The problem was that people were looking at him, a human. It was not Moses who brought them out of Egypt. It was not Moses who brought them across the Red Sea. It was God. Do you trust me? But they didn't. So they ran out of water, and they said, Moses, we're all going to die. You brought us out in the desert to die of thirst. What are we going to drink? So Moses went to the right place. He said, God, what am I going to do with these people? God said, go with the elders, the leaders of the land of the people of Israel. Go into this certain rock that I will show you and hit it. When you hit it, water will gush out. Remember, we're talking about perhaps 2 million people. That's a big city worth of people. And cattle. Besides that. That's a lot of water we're talking about. Coming out of a rock. A dry rock. So he did. He went to this rock, hit it, and the water gushed out. And the people all drank and were satisfied. Well, they have water and they have manna. All that they have to have for life. But really, the most important thing is God, the source of these things. God is the only one who can satisfy all our needs. If only the people had learned to put their trust in Him. But they haven't, not water. And they're going to have this water. It seems, I don't remember exactly how long, but it was going to be a good long time. Because during that time, we're going to learn some other things that happened there. In Rephidim, near this rock, they're standing near the foot of the Mount Sinai. Interesting, huh? Mount Sinai. Why is that interesting? Or Mount Horeb, in another word. Because when God said, Moses, go to the king of Egypt and tell him, let my people go, I'm going to bring you out of that land and I'm going to bring you back to this place. Where was he? At Sinai. Now they were at Sinai. God was doing just as He'd said. God was doing just as He'd said. They were right there by Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb. And they have plenty of water. Well, next time we're going to learn some more things about what happened there at Mount Sinai. You know, but I'll just remind that we'll go over that again tomorrow. Or not tomorrow, next week. Sorry.